Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Let me just get the mic so it's closer. Hope you can hear me better. So in this video I wanted to do a portfolio update with you where I'm going to reveal my full portfolio, and yes, it's not clickbait that you saw in the title that I am minus 211,000 on my portfolio. So I'm going to explain why. That basically means that I have margin, like outstanding margin, and I want to explain how I ended up in this situation, what am I doing to fix it, and what are my thoughts around the portfolio. So please make sure you're subscribed. That's the only thing that I ask. And if you have a disagreement, please keep it respectful in the comments. So, and you're welcome with your criticism. I don't mind, as long as it's respectful. I want to shout out to the 12 members that this channel has. You guys are amazing and really help me out in being able to put more research into YouTube, into stocks and making more YouTube videos. So here is the portfolio performance in the last year, 42%. And just fun fact, this is where somewhere where I bought Rocket Lab, or no, maybe it's somewhere here. Anyways, you can see that since Rocket Lab is part of my portfolio, it's been very wild up and down swings, but that's okay. It comes with the territory. So this is my year-to-date performance, and if you compare me to the S&P 500, you can see that the S&P 500 is 25% in 1 year. So on a 1 year time frame, I had 40%. But on the year-to-date return, I'm underperforming the S&P 500. The 3-year return of 10%, I want to show you. Here you can see this is the total value of the portfolio. And this is how much unrealized profit I have on this amount. So you can see that the portfolio doubled since I started, and that's like in 3 years. So I have a CAGR of 30% per year, which is very much beating the S&P 500. But I don't think it's important to beat the S&P 500, and I'm going to circle back to this. I wanted to show you a few of my current positions. So I have 8,116 shares of Palantir with an average price of 8 something, less than 9. I think it's like 8.48, something like this. So almost 3x up or 2x up on the stock. As you can see, I'm just a long-term investor. I don't trim, I don't portfolio adjust. I don't think that that's suitable. I'll put it this way, I think it's idiocy when your portfolio is like less than 10 or 100 million dollars. It's way better to focus on earning money, sending the money out on your brokerage account and just parking it into stocks that you trust. I have 65,000 shares of Rocket Lab, and I currently hold cover calls. I wrote them a few days ago on Palantir. I think I got 13 cents paid for them. So I might have to roll this position. It's expiring in a few trading days, but it's a very small part of the position. And this is what I started the video with, that my cash balance on the account is 211,000. So I just wanted to explain how I got here, why this happened, and what are my thoughts around this. So this portfolio is together with my dad, and while he's very happy that we made so much gains on Palantir, and he completely believes in the future of Palantir, he wants to retire this year. And we started having serious discussions about, okay, but for him to get his retirement, we need to sell the stock, and then you kind of kill the, the golden egg laying goose, because Palantir, I'm very bullish still on the company, and I think that it can go up, 20 to 30% per year for, you know, God knows how many years, and then if it becomes 20% per year for 22 years or 21 years, it's like 100x on your money, something crazy. It's quite late when I'm recording, so I might be completely messed up on the number of the years, but the point is that if you have 20 to 30% CAGR for decades, it's a huge increase in the stock, and I do believe that Palantir has that in them. Then we had a little bit of money left over. We bought Rocket Lab after selling a Tesla position. And then I don't know how I started hearing things about like, yeah, if you write covered calls on your position, it's like, you know, having a real estate and you start renting it out, and the options income can be like a weekly or a monthly income. And, you know, the light bulb went on that, oh my God, if I learn how to sell options, then I actually I get to keep all the shares, and my dad can actually go into retirement, and then it's like a win-win-win everywhere, right? So I started learning about selling options, and you know, it's like a Pandora's box when you open this subject, and I actually don't like to speak about it on the channel, so this is one of those few moments, unless maybe to channel members if they are asking for it. But the reason why I don't like to speak about it is because I feel that it's a very, very advanced technique where you have to know a lot, and it's super risky if you don't know what you're doing. So I think that 90% of the people that are retail investors should just focus on earning more money and then doing very safe investments, because you know, if you want to reach $1 million or $10 million, there's really two ways that you can reach it. One is that you send a lot of money to your broker account, or the other one is that you have a very high rate of return on your investment. So the very high rate of return investment, that's what all newbies think, like, I'm gonna go to the market and I'm going to do 100% every year and I will be better than Warren Buffett, who only did a measly 29% return over, you know, a 20-year period. And I think that that's foolish thinking. So if you cannot get the high returns, then the only thing that you can control is how much money you send to your broker account, because, you know, a 10% of $1 million is 100,000, whereas 10% of 10,000 is only 100 or $1,000. So it's a huge difference. Even if the return is low, but it's on a very big amount of money, it's still, you know, a very good amount of money at the end of the day. Where was I going with this? I'm having a Joe Biden moment here. I know what I wanted to communicate was that, yes, so this is why I don't like to talk about options, because I feel that it's not helping most people, and you really need to have a lot of risk tolerance, a special stomach, a lot of experience on the stock market. But I went down this rabbit hole because I believe that I have the time. You know, I've been around the stock market for long enough, and I started. And of course, you know, when you start at something, you're the worst at it that you will ever be. So I, of course, made the first two trades went horribly wrong. So I wrote very long put options at a wrong strike price on Rocket Lab. I wrote one very long and one that was just badly done. And the long story short is, on the very long put option, I ended up basically being margin called, and I had to sell shares to keep the account, whatever. And I lost like $17,000 on that option trade. And on the other one, on the short put option, so basically when you sell a put option, you are insuring somebody's stock, and you're saying that I'm willing to, if the stock price is below a certain strike price, I'm willing to buy at the strike price. So my strike price was $5, and basically 3 days after I wrote the put option, Rocket Lab decided to do their capped cover convertible offering, and the stock went down to 4, and it came back to 450 or something. I didn't close the position, and it got exercised, and I took custody, or I got 40,000 shares of Rocket Lab extra on top of the 25 that I had. And with the $17,000 loss, and with having been assigned basically $200,000 worth of Rocket Lab shares, sorry, it was $250,000. So at one point the account was minus $267,000, which is crazy. But I kept at it. I understood what I did wrong, and basically on the long term, if you sell very long dated options, it's very hard to roll them, because even if the position goes severely against you, you don't have, like, if you already sold a year, you don't have really an option to make. So you only have one option, which is to sell a 2-year long option, and the theta, or the time value of the option, is not changing so much between 1 to 2 year. Again, it's quite complicated, but what I learned is that if you sell weekly options, it's like super easy to roll your positions if they go against you, and blah blah blah. But the point is, I kept at it, and I keep a log. I keep a log of the positions, and the reason why this account is not minus 267 is because I made up the money by selling options. And so that means that I made close to $50,000 now, a little bit more than that. And there are some positions that are not closed yet on selling options in the span of, what is it? When did I get assigned? It's probably like 5 or 6 months, something like this, which is pretty crazy. Like, I'm very, very surprised that it's going this good. And again, I don't talk about it. I don't brag about it. I don't really, okay, maybe, no, I don't really brag about it. Sometimes I mention that, like, I got very lucky on a position, but I don't go too much into it. So this is a very special video when I talk about it. And my plan going forward is I would like to earn out this minus 211,000. So which means that I would basically earn my Rocket Lab shares that I got assigned because of the put option. But this also means that while I'm doing that, I'm unable to open positions in other things that I'm bullish on. But it is fine by me, because I'm really, really, really bullish on Rocket Lab. This is why when I got assigned on the put option, first I was like, okay, I'm just going to sell and, take the loss. And, I go back to the 25,000 position. But I imagined, okay, having 65,000 shares, if the stock is going to do what I think it's going to do, then I'm really going to regret not fighting to keep these shares. I'm also working to be able to send more money to the broker account to, be done with this quicker. And again, keep in mind, I'm fighting here for shares that I bought for $5. And the stock price is below this currently, but I don't care. I think it's still such a bargain. And I get it. A lot of people are against, doing things on margin. And I think also it's super risky. Some people ask me, like, how do I sleep at night? And to be honest, there was some tough nights when the stock was down to 360. And it's not because my conviction in Rocket Lab was not high. I was zero worried about Rocket Lab, but I did come quite close to being margin called at that time, which would basically mean that my broker forces me to sell Rocket Lab shares at a loss, and then I'm unable to participate when the stocks recover. So that was tough, but the more I sell options and more this minus decrease, it means that the lower the stock can go before I get into any trouble. So the safety increases by the day. And I do think that currently I'm not in the danger, and I'm just going to be able to, send more money to the account, and with the options trading, make back this money. So what is my plan after I have earned back my Rocket Lab position? It's definitely to find a new company where I can, you know, study, possibly make a weekly podcast with other creators, and really also, you know, bring value to a new community. It doesn't mean that I'm going to abandon Rocket Lab. So Rocket Lab Weekly is here to stay, and, you know, my Palantir content is here to stay. I'm super bullish on Tesla currently, but again, as you see, the account, I cannot buy shares, and I'm way more bullish on Rocket Lab. So just so you know, I have zero FOMO, zero anything of like, oh, there is, you know, I'm unable to buy Bitcoin or Tesla, because I do believe the best opportunity in the market is currently Rocket Lab, and I'm very happy and feel lucky that I have the privilege of and the opportunity to be able to collect shares of this fantastic company. But in the future, when this position is full, I don't think I want more than 65,000 shares. Then I will start building a new position, and then I will build that position out, and then it will be a new position. And I spoke about something on the S&P 500, that when you have this strategy, so this is a very different strategy from, you know, index fund investing, of this, you know, trader and you know, very short-term mindedness. Like, I basically don't care if Rocket Lab has a 20 to 30% pullback or 50% pullback, as long as I'm able to hold on to my shares, because I'm in it for the future, right? But when you follow this type of very long-term investing, there's going to be periods when I will severely underperform the S&P 500 on the short term, because let's say I can invest $10,000 a month into a stock of my choosing, right? And I have two stocks currently: Palantir 50%-ish of the position, Rocket Lab 50%-ish of the position. So when I open a third position and I can buy, you know, for $10,000 a month, and I want to buy that stock for a year or a year and a half, right? So that means that I need the stock price to not moon when I start buying it. Preferably the stock price should be, I mean, the best would be if the stock price is in a straight downtrend, because then every month when I get the new $10,000, I have more and more money, or like I get more and more shares for the same amount of money, right? So for the strategy that I'm doing, it's fantastic. But when you're comparing to the S&P 500, if the S&P 500 is going up and my stock is going down, and I keep buying and keep buying and keep buying, it's going to not look pretty on the portfolio performance. But I did this with Palantir. I, you know, first started buying at 12, and then at 10, and then at 8. I think I bought a little bit in the 6s, but very little bit. The biggest chunk of buying was in the 8s. And for 1 year, I was sitting in Palantir, and we started at 12, and I think the year closed out at 8. So my portfolio went down 40%, but I knew what I was doing. And what happened after? Palantir went up 200% in 1 year. So then I ended up crushing the S&P 500. But if I would have been like, oh no, the S&P 500 is 5% better than I am, let's sell now and let's try to fix my performance, all of this strategy would not have worked. So if you're following this long-term strategy, I think maybe a 5-year time horizon. If you're underperforming the S&P 500 on a 5-year period, then you're doing something wrong. But I wouldn't worry. I'm not worried about comparing myself to the S&P 500. Anyways, it's becoming quite a long video. I do believe I managed to talk about everything that I wanted to talk about. So please let me know in the comments what you think. And thanks again for the channel members and for the very few Patreon members. But the channel membership is where the action is happening right now. So thank you so much for you guys, and I'll see everyone in the next video. Ciao, ciao.